think Sage just started a new company for me, Treehouse Solutions. So my company, Tree Solutions, consulting arborists. But could happen. So as the slide says, for a long time I've been really interested in tree-supported structures. I'll tell you a brief story before my time starts, because I've noticed everybody has been getting a little free time on the cover slide. So about 20 years ago, I was giving a talk. I'd come out of a lot of other fields of work, including being on the first team writing the Washington State Energy Code, the first draft, but also developer of urban and rural properties and tree service owner, yada, yada. But I was back in arboriculture and giving a talk for the Pacific Northwest chapter of the International Society of Arboriculture, 40 nations strong, a truly international group. And there I was giving a talk outdoors. That's my favorite place, although I'm pretty happy to be here. And there was this funny guy in a hat in the back of the crowd. And after the talk, he came up and buttonholed me. And that man was Michael Garnier, the godfather of treehouses in North America. So that led to the odyssey that brought me here today. And so with that, I'm going to get this little clicker here and get going. So, I'm going to talk to you tonight about some really green structures. These structures are built using living trees to hold them up. So I think that's pretty green, I really do. Last year at the World Treehouse Conference, some people came from mainland China with a translator. They came with the history from their village going back 10,000 years when they all lived in tree houses. We all thought that was pretty cool. So over the last 20 years, tree houses have become much more popular, commonplace, and through ingenuity, engineering, and yes, television, they really have pushed the possibilities of what's possible, and they've pushed the building codes and been able to get structures built in trees that meet building codes. So, for 20 years, the Treehouse tribe has gathered at the World Treehouse Conference in Southern Oregon at Michael Garnier's place, the Out and About Tree Resort. And every year, people come there with something new, something different, really remarkable, innovative stuff, just like we're seeing tonight from all our pals at the EcoBuilders Guild. So here on the slide, you can see just real quick, a panel from a lecture on engineering. I'm going to see if I can find the laser here. And then these are tree attachment bolts. This is a heavy limb, and these are some really modern ones. And on this side here, you can see some analysis using tomography of a treehouse support tree. Tomography uses sound waves to make an image of the inside of a tree. So a great engineer named Charlie Greenwood, he was one of the first people, a pioneer, and he was willing to work with living trees to support structures. So he used finite element analysis, really advanced engineering. He is the creator of these pieces right here, and he actually machined the drill bit in his own shop. And here, this is one of the Treehouse Masters guys, Chuck, installing a pin in a tree near here. So Charlie has now built 20 states, 30,000 square feet of tree-supported structures. As he says, that's the equivalent of 1,000 Ford F-350 pickups, or 6 million pounds, supported by trees. So I want to take you through a couple of tree houses here that are not part of the building code and just kind of get you going, get you thinking, okay? Because as Sage said, there's two types of tree houses. There's tree houses and there's house in a tree. And I like both of them, frankly, but these will really get you going. This is the Four Winds Treehouse at Camp Four Winds on Orcas Island, an old and well-known camp. And this treehouse, constructed in the 60s by camp counselors, had been doing yeoman's duty up there for many, many years. I first saw the tree in 2004. There was a sign that said, Mother Nature says only 12 people in the treehouse at a time. I said, Scott Baker says, only 6 people in the treehouse at a time, and this tree needs a thorough assessment and some tender loving care. So we took on the management of the tree. We used mulch, stopped cleaning up, and some water in summer, and the tree came back to life. We can see here some of the problems that occur when you try to build in a tree, not really understanding what the tree wants to do as it goes along in its lifespan. So I talked about modern and fantastic technology. We've had a gentleman named John Schulters, a young guy, at the Treehouse conference for many years. He's a specialist in 3D design. He made this model right here of the tree. He can model a tree in 3D. We can fly over, spin it around. I want to get your help to get this video on next time I do this. But anyhow, this is the model, and you can see the treehouse conceptualized there. This allowed the team to understand the challenges that the treehouse presented and solve them before we even started construction. We knew a lot about this tree. I had analyzed it, an old tree, lots of decay, completely hollow at this level, a hollow shell, okay? Now, John's model here actually helped sell this to the camp. They raised a lot of money. It's about a $67,000 budget here on this. And it really upset a couple of the board members because when they saw this, they thought we'd already built the thing and they hadn't said yes yet. Okay, so this is just a virtual image, and here you see Jake Jacob and his team's creation, the recreated Four Winds Treehouse. Okay, so here's another one in Seattle. This client of mine brought me out to look at a tree. He's kind of worried about it. His treehouse in a redwood tree that can grow an inch diameter a year in Seattle was literally being burst off the tree by the growth of the tree. And now you're right, this is problematic for the tree and for the treehouse. But the client really wanted to keep this thing. They had a passionate attachment to it. And, you know, he could not even fit through the hole anymore. The tree had grown. 7 years of growth. This is all we're talking about here. 7 years. Okay, so my friend Jason Lindsay came in, removed the treehouse from the tree. The tree burst forth with new growth. New branches came out as we removed the constrictions that chain and other parts of the treehouse had created. The tree came back to life. And these are very tough trees. So Jason came up with this brilliant design. You can see them here using tree work equipment, a Hobbs device to winch things up. They don't like ladders. You can see a support cable out here that mimics the old treehouse. And he built this marvelous structure, 10 penetrations of the tree, 4 bolts at the top of the tree supporting these cables that pick up some of the cantilever loads, and then very sophisticated mounts at the bottom here using the new modern tree pins that I helped develop with Michael Garnier and Charlie Greenwood, the engineer. And this thing wowed the owners and their guests. And I think it's just beautiful. They cut no branches off this tree, and in fact, you can see living branches right through the usable space of this, really a party platform in Seattle. Okay? So when you get looking at tree houses that are having to meet the building codes, I decided to use this example. This is the Trillium treehouse, one of the tree houses at Treehouse Point that Pete Nelson and his team have built. This saga started 11 years ago when Pete was red tagged for building in a riparian zone on his property on the Raging River in Preston, Washington. And, wow, he was in trouble. So by about 2013, that's a few years have gone by there, a lot of discussion with the county and a really good team approaching this. Tremendous amount of study of the trees. Tomography using sound waves, micro-resistance drilling, and in this case, we did statics testing of the trees where we actually are able to pull on the tree with a known load, and using instruments, we can predict the tipping safety of the tree in high winds and also the breaking safety of the stem. This is phenomenally interesting stuff. And so you can see Holly Iosa, who's one of my gang in the office here, in her office, looking at the tree. Here's that tree you saw. And I don't know if you noticed that image of the tomography, but this tree also is hollow at the base. Hollow trees are not necessarily dangerous. It's pretty normal for an old tree to be hollow. And here it is. I would call this, Sage, more of a tree house than a house built in a tree. It's whimsical. It's one of a marvelous space. So 2013, we submitted plans for 6 tree houses to the county. Very difficult. Charlie Greenwood is, again, the engineer on this. And I'm happy to say that this tree house has been approved, all 6 of them, one of which is not even constructed yet. So it's really interesting to see this. What were the challenges here? They're really the same challenges as you get in any building, okay? You had to meet the regular building codes. You've got to meet the structural code. Well, in this case, the foundation is a tree. Trees are not static, they're dynamic. We had the help of a professional specialist treehouse engineer. We had the analysis by my team at Tree Solutions doing absolutely the most sophisticated testing and structural analysis of a tree that can be done. okay? But they had to meet the regular dimensional codes. The stairways and railings had to meet the codes, okay? They wanted to meet fire code, and they didn't want sprinklers, so they had to figure out a way to convince the county that they had safe egress for the guests that come to Treehouse Point, which is famous. After 7 years of television shows, this is booked year-round. So they also had to meet the energy code. Sound familiar? And so they had a struggle there, but these are small structures, and they were able to hire an energy modeling team to come in and model all 6 structures for about $10,000. They then substituted insulation, went to spray foam to get a higher R value. They had to go pull out the electric wall heaters they had in there and put in mini splits to get the efficiency up, and they were able to tweak things to meet the building code. So, you know, the real difficult part with these tree houses really is the foundation, the ability to convince somebody that engineering a tree with a tree as the support will really work for you. And it worked here, and I'm happy to say that just this summer, late this summer, we received approval for this project. And kudos to Pete Nelson and his team. Scott Atkins, his lead guy, made this happen. Really, really phenomenal stuff. So here's another one down in California, San Bernardino County. This is Dane and Penny Winkleman's tree house. This is not yet built yet. It's just beginning to be construction, but this took 4 years to get through the county down there. Charlie and I worked on it. I went down, analyzed the trees, did a bunch of testing, management plan. You're kidding me. Okay, so we got approved, okay? We got approved. So and I got a drawing stamped, a report stamped by the building department. Never happened to us before. So I'm going to leave you with this. Taka Kobayashi, the Japanese treehouse builder, 120, 140 projects built. Brilliant, a genius. Check him out online. He's amazing. And touch trees when you go home from this. I hope you enjoyed what I had to say.